We all know Mario Kart, but did you know fans have made their own versions? Well, in this video, we're gonna take a look at a bunch of Mario Kart fan games. Anyways, I'm Anton, and let's get started. Let's kick things off with Mario Kart Speed Strife. This game was developed by DJ Coco, the creator of the excellent Paper Mario 3D Land. It's a mix of Mario Kart DS and Mario Kart Super Circuit. The game's got 12 characters, and 8 of them are unlocked right off the bat. You'll race across 16 tracks across 4 cups, and every time you get a trophy in one of the cups, you'll unlock a character. So yeah, there's plenty to keep you busy. The gameplay itself is fine, but the camera and drifting feel a bit off. The drift is extremely fast and tight, making it difficult to control turns smoothly, especially on narrow tracks. And with that camera, it can feel quite unpredictable at times, requiring constant adjustment to avoid oversteering. The tracks themselves are very flat, with a few elevation changes here and there. This is probably due to limitations. However, while they do lack verticality, they make up for it in creative themes and variety, from bright, colorful landscapes to darker, more atmospheric settings. So despite the simplicity of the track geometry, the unique visual styles help keep things fresh. But the visuals are a bit of a melting pot. You've got item renders from Mario Kart Wii, what seems like player models from Mario Kart DS, the placement numbers and other UI elements from Double Dash, and the player icons from Mario Kart 8, as well as the music, and the course textures seem to be from across the series. But beyond Grand Prix, there are some other modes, like Time Trial, where you can race against the clock, as there isn't a ghost or a CPU that you race against, and Versus Race, where you can customize your own rules. And the menus are very similar visually to Mario Kart 8, and they're pretty easy to use, even if they could have been more intuitive. But the game is missing some basic features, as there aren't many settings, and no full screen option, which is a bit strange considering it's a Windows game. It's locked to its default windowed resolution, which can be a little inconvenient, but it's probably due to the fact that it's made in Game Maker Studio, which is primarily a 2D engine, so the fact that it's a 3D game is pretty impressive. And after switching to 100cc because, well, 150cc is quite difficult in the game, the tracks are clearly not designed for it, I managed to beat the entire game, by getting a trophy in each cup. And since the roster seems to be from Mario Kart DS, the last character should be Rob. Vanessa? Who's that? What did you do with Rob? And well, that's Mario Kart Speed Strife. And with that, let's take a look at the next game. Released in 2018, Logan Kart 8 Deluxe is a bizarre yet charming take on the kart racing genre that feels more like a parody than a direct knockoff. It's not technically a Mario Kart fan game, but it's close enough. The game boasts 9 characters. Now I've done some research about the game's roster and the lore of the characters, and here are my findings. Logan is not the creator of the game, as the developer is actually 9064, which is not Logan. And his face in the game comes from a picture taken by the developer. He and 9064 thought it'd be funny to create a Mario Kart parody called Logan Kart 8. Initially, it was just a joke. They came up with the courses and characters for fun. At the time, they didn't even know Mario Kart 8 existed. In August 2014, he decided to turn the joke into a real project, making Logan Kart 8 as their first large-scale Unity game. The game's wacky, low-budget feel comes from their inexperience with Unity at the time, which led to many bugs and physics issues. Some of these, like the unpredictable bullet bills, were so amusing that they were left in intentionally. Most of the game's assets, tracks, 3D models, textures, sounds, and mechanics were made from scratch. However, a few elements, like skyboxes and select music tracks, were borrowed. The AI struggles to drive properly, because it was coded from the ground up. But the main goal was to make a Mario Kart style game that actually plays somewhat well on PC, unlike most other PC fan attempts. Of course you have Logan, but then you've got Nagel, which is actually Logan's real-life friend, portrayed as his anti-version. His name is just Logan backwards, since while Logan sounded dumb, but eventually became a reality. And then the other characters came from old projects that 9064 worked on. And there's even an unlockable character, so there's a lot of context to this game. And this comment that 9064 left under Vinesauce's video about the game really helped me out. Now in terms of gameplay, it's actually quite solid. The 20 tracks spread across 5 different cups feature stages that are both well designed and outlandish, and the vending machine track is really creative. And there's even Toddler Park, which, yeah, is a baby park. But this game's physics aren't exactly grounded in realism. Gravity is surprisingly low, allowing you to drift up walls and even flip your cart mid-air. It's not uncommon to get flung across the track after bumping into a wall or obstacle, but it just feels like it's way too airy, making it pretty frustrating. The drifting is excellent, and feels similar to the drifting in the Sonic racing games. I really like the soundtrack of Logan Kart 8 Deluxe. They're really jazzy and great to listen to. The game's controls are customizable, offering both keyboard and gamepad support. But the thing is, even though the game is quite janky, it never really felt like it was broken or anything. I never ended up really glitching into walls, so the game is polished in that way. And you might also be wondering why this is called Logan Kart 8 Deluxe. And the deluxe part is actually due to the fact that this is an enhanced version of the original game that added way more content, as the original is now known as Logan Kart 8 Classic, and it even plays in a browser, so that's pretty cool. I recommend everyone try this game out, as it's pretty quirky and weird at times, but it's still a pretty solid car racer. Next up is Mario Kart GD. This Mario Kart fan game is made with the G-Develop engine that's actually been evolving in its capabilities, allowing for 3D assets. Now this game hasn't been updated for a while and seems to be missing some courses, yet these other cups don't exist. The lighting and course designs are actually quite impressive, even if the tracks are just the classic Mode 7 2D. But they have a decent amount of detail, with trees and other assets here and there. And the controls are decent, but they're nothing amazing here, as drifting is a bit sharp, similar to Speed Strife from before, but it can help you navigate tight corners, especially when you need it, as the game can go pretty fast. The power-ups work well, and you can even throw items in front or behind you, and the ramps make you fly into the air, which can be fun. But sometimes I have ended up out of bounds, which I don't think is supposed to happen, but it does sometimes. The only issues I've encountered here is that the acceleration speed is way too slow, causing you to waste precious seconds trying to catch up with the other players. And at the beginning, there isn't any countdown UI numbers, only the sounds. But one major downside is the game only supports gamepad controls, meaning you need a gamepad to play it. This choice feels somewhat restrictive, especially for players who don't have one handy. Considering G-Develop supports keyboard inputs as well, it seems like a strange omission, but there could have been a way to do it. And this game has an issue that Logan Kart 8 also has, which is no clear direction guidance, as it's hard to figure out what direction you're supposed to go in if you get confused. So there's no arrows on the track, which could help greatly. The game does offer quite the roster though, from your classic Mario characters like Waluigi to Rouge the Bat, but all the characters play the same. While Mario Kart GD is a solid effort in showcasing the capabilities of G-Develop and making a Mario Kart game within it, a bit of work could make it a lot better, and MT Games did a great job on it. Next up, we have a really cool Mario Kart fan game, and this one's a bit of a hidden gem, as it's a recreation of Super Mario Kart made entirely within Scratch, a web-based no-code game engine, and it's pretty impressive. The creator, Finlay Cool, used the original SNES graphics and sounds, rendering the track with a pen-based raycasting technique, similar to how retro racing games handle depth. You can even toggle high resolution by pressing D, though it makes the game slow down a bit. What's even more impressive is how the game's evolved. It's had updates that's added things like different starting lineups depending on the character chosen, and each character has their own handling. And it's cool to see all of them here, but they kinda all have to be here. They can't just all be Mario, and there's only the one track, as I guess others would be quite difficult to implement. It is a simple project and doesn't have that much depth to it, but it's really well put together, and quite impressive, and the game controls really well, along with many familiar power-ups and mechanics. However, some features like drifting are absent. The funniest thing to me though is the insane speeds you can reach, which might need to be fixed, though they could also be a result of the game's limitations, but it can be fun to play around with. And the final game in this video is Mario Kart PC, probably the most underrated Mario fan game I've ever seen. This game has been around since 2010, and yet it's barely known, which might be a good thing considering Nintendo's history of shutting down fan projects. And hopefully they don't watch this video, but I've been playing this game since 2018. It's a super fun game, but also frustrating in some ways. Mario Kart PC is a fully online 2D Mario Kart game inspired by Super Mario Kart and Mario Kart Super Circuit. The tracks are simple flat images with 2D characters and decorations that always face the screen. It sounds basic, but it works incredibly well. The online's pretty solid, and there's quite the active player base. But the best part, the customization. You can create custom tracks, battle arenas, challenges, and even your own characters. The track editor is basically like a 2D Mario Kart maker. One's a grid-based system that's pretty easy to use, where you can choose different themes, and the other is more complex, where you can upload custom images as tracks, and then create boundaries and a path for the players to follow. You can add decorations and item boxes. From there, you can even upload it online. You can even save it as a battle course. And once you've created a ton of courses, you can build full Grand Prix Cups. And you can even add challenges to them, like certain obstacles to avoid or collect certain items. And if you want, you can offer a reward as an unlockable character. When it comes to characters, you can design your own. It's really fun to play as whoever you want, and you can find a bunch of them from online. You'll even find all the tracks from Super Mario Kart Super Circuit, and Mario Kart DS in the game, although in 2D. But it's great to have them here. But it's cool there's so much user-generated content in this game, which makes it infinitely replayable. The game plays surprisingly well too. The drifting and power-ups all work as you'd expect. And the same thing can be said for the time trials and battle mode. But even though this game is great, I do have a few annoyances. The low-res visuals can make it difficult to tell where you're supposed to be driving, as the course detail is hard to spot, especially when trying to avoid pits and collisions. Now I have no problem with the images being low-res, as that's probably the limitations of it being a browser game, but I'm just not a fan of the low-res filter applied to the game. It doesn't look great and doesn't really help the experience. And you can even change the frame rate to 60 frames per second, but it doesn't seem to make much of a difference. And the game can lag heavily when there are too many elements, like trees or other 2D objects. And many aspects like the UI seem extremely dated, like they haven't been changed since 2010. And the full screen mode is just an afterthought, as it's really janky. But the game is built entirely around creativity, and that's what's kept this game alive all these years, as people are able to create new stuff, and it seems like it has a decently active community, and it's stayed under Nintendo's radar for quite a while, and let's hope it stays that way. If you want to check it out, I highly recommend it. But anyways, that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel, as it always helps out. You can find all the fan games down in the description, and they're all listed on my website, so go check them out over there. Are there any fan games or ROM hacks you'd like me to cover next? Well, let me know, and I'll see you all in the next one.